Everybody ready to cross the love bridge? Thank you all for being on Zoom too, and Mark, thank you for the song so much. Oh, yes, and to all of you, you know, one of the things that, yes, it's hard to get up here and be a speaker at one level, but because you're Unity and I know that at some level y'all love me a little, that it makes it much easier. I mean, if I was trying to speak to a whole crowd of unknowns, I wouldn't be able to say the things I get to say here. So we really are being asked to dig a little deeper and see where that takes us. So I appreciate that you're all spiritual seekers and I can dig with you. So I found some important information, I thought, the other day that you as spiritual seekers might like to know. So I think I'm just going to kind of read through it. It's called The Meaning of Life, and it kind of fits into how we approach crossing that bridge and how we find our strength. So here it says, God created the dog and said, sit by the door all day of your house and bark at anyone who comes in and walks past. For this, I will give you a lifespan of 20 years. The dog said, well, that's a long time to be barking. How about only 10 years and I'll give you back the other 10. So God agreed. Then God created the monkey and said, entertain people, do your tricks and make them laugh. For this, I'll give you 20 years. The monkey said, monkey tricks for 20 years? He said, that's a pretty long time to perform. How about I give you back 10 and like the dog did? So once again, God agreed. Then God created the cow and said, you must go into the field with the farmer all day long and suffer under the sun and have calves and give milk to support the farmer's family. For this, I will give you a lifespan of 60 years. Well, the cow said, that's kind of a tough life you want me to live for 60 years. How about 20? And I give you back the other 40. So God agreed again. Then God created man and woman and said, eat, sleep, pray, marry, and enjoy your life. For this I'll give you 20 years. But man said, what? Only 20 years? Could you possibly give me my 20? The 40 the cow gave back, the 10 the monkey gave back, and the 10 the dog gave back, and that makes 80, okay? No, okay, said God, you asked for it. So this is why our first 20 years we eat, sleep, play, and enjoy ourselves. And then for the next 40 years we slave in the sun to support our family. And then for the next 10 years we do monkey tricks to entertain our grandchildren. And for the last 10 years we sit on the porch and bark at everyone. Lifespan explained. Woof, woof.
You're living up to your silly thing that you said you were going to do. I know.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just said you're living up to the silly thing you said you were going to do.
So some might say this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I hope that by the time you're 80, you're not barking on the porch. But what if, I mean, that's what makes it so funny, is that it's ridiculous. And we know it's not true, right? We know it's not true. So my inner strength is enhanced when I can discern what's true and what's not true. And that requires going within and spending time sometimes with the things that we hear. So from the Unity definition of strength that was over on the altar with all the angels this morning, so strength is the ability to endure, stay the course, last, be persistent, persevere, and be stable. When our strength is based on our senses, thoughts, beliefs, and feelings, we can use strength to stick to a diet or a workout program, or we can use strength to be stubborn, adopting a don't confuse me with the facts attitude. And from our elevated consciousness, however, when our strength is based on ideas, truths, principles, and laws that are divine in nature, we can use strength to stand in our truth and be persistent in being the best Christ that we can be. So as I look out into the world right now and see what's going on and listen to what's going on and go, well, okay, how do we deal with this? There's so much anger and frustration and hatred and all those things that it can be kind of a heavy, dark time. I gotta find my first page here. But as I'm thinking about all this, it's like, how do we build that bridge when we know that love is the most powerful strength that there is? And then I was thinking about, can you imagine the chaos there was back in the day when somebody said, guess what? The earth is not flat. It's a globe. What? I mean, just think about that. What kind of chaos did that create? And who had what opinion? Oh, it's, you know, if you live in Missoula, you don't think it's flat. You think that there's a mountain, and then that's the end of it because you can't get over the mountain and see what's on the other side. But a lot of places, you know, that was the belief for a long time. And sometimes I liken the conflicts that are going on now to that same thing. There's so much energy. No, it's flat. No, it's a globe. No, it's flat. No, it's a globe. And so I started looking at other places to think of how would the angels deal with it? How would the Christ deal with it? And then I found something from Albert Einstein that I thought was just a little short thing to share. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. Everything is energy, and that is all there is to it. So match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. So if we're energy and we're spewing out stuff that becomes the energy, that's going to come back. I mean, that's like our third teaching, the third principle. We create a reality. And so if we let ourselves get our knickers in a knot, so to speak, then is that what we will get back? And is that what we want? Well, it's not what I want. And I know that I've let myself get pulled out many times, but it's really like rethinking this whole thing and what do I want? I don't want to sit on the porch and bark when I'm 80. That's not part of my dream. And then Albert Einstein also says the religion of the future will be a cosmic religion. It will transcend a personal God and avoid dogma and theology. And so some of the speakers in the past few weeks have talked about some of their stories with the dogma and theology from what they were taught when they were growing up and how that shaped their thinking and their feeling and their opinions and their judgments. And so we all have a story, and it's all intertwined in there. So as we dig deeper and come into our own story, I was thinking about well, first I'd like to talk about something that I've come across really lately that's really shifted me and pushed me. And it, through the Radiant Rose Academy, which has been part of my spiritual journey, and I'm going to read this so I don't say the wrong title. There's a book that they've invited us to read called Christ Returns, Speaks His Truth, and the Christ Letters. Now, this is a very dense, it's an intense book. You can maybe read a sentence or a paragraph at a time, then you put it out in a lot. But there's a, you can buy the book, or Roger just made copies of the writings. Anyway, there's a synopsis that's online with the book. There are 9 letters, and they're all equally powerful. So sort of the synopsis of letter 1 is Christ speaks of his reasons for returning to dictate these letters, and who he gave them to was a woman who remains anonymous, but she sat in prayer and meditation in silence for 40 years before he came to her. So she probably has kind of a good link to the information. You know, I often think that people now that write books and do all the things that people do, some of them have to be as inspired as those who waited 250 years to write something that was in the Bible. So this is a thing that I accept as, I'm looking at how much truth that feels for me and how much not. So if you completely resist what this is saying, that's fine, because we're at Unity and we let each other do that. He says that mankind brings their own woes upon them through their thoughts and actions. Explains why his mission on earth was not recorded properly, says there's no such thing as sin against God, neither is our true source of being understood, and describes his 6 weeks in the desert and what really took place, what he learned, and how the knowledge changed him from rebel to master and healer. And then he also talks in a later letter, he touches on the truth regarding the human ego. That means the earthly individuality, and then therefore necessary, but also a source of a lot of our suffering. So the teachings say, you know, we're the individualized presence of the Mother, Father, God consciousness, and that there is an infinite original creator somewhere of all this, and that there's also the universal I am God presence, Mother, Father consciousness, Christ consciousness that's in nature and the universe and all the beautiful things. So there's no limitation. So I also listened to a transmission that was on through the Academy from Jesus the Christ, and he asked us, he was addressing the current situation in the world, and he asked us to do one thing first. He said, do not opine. O-P-I-N-E, opine, do not opine. I didn't know that word. It's the base word of opinion. And that struck me. I better dig in this one and see what's going on. And so as I thought about how we come up with our opinions, and then we think we're right and somebody else is wrong, then that's where the problem comes in. So I can have an opinion. I just don't need to shove it in somebody else's face, basically. But I was thinking about part of my own story of how some of these things get so strong in me. And my family of origin, they were good Catholics and they were good Democrats. And that was the end of the conversation. You didn't talk about anything else because that didn't fit with the family. And I also realized that we always talked about those things, but then that kept us from talking about other stuff that might have been way more important. But it was like a diversion from the truth of what was really going on inside of each of us, because we didn't have the language, we didn't have the right words, we didn't know them, and neither did my parents. And so this was a great outlet for us. And so I was so strong in my beliefs about stuff that when I went to high school and I was taking the American history class, and my teacher was Mrs. Crockett, who'd also been my piano teacher, and she wasn't happy with me because I had quit piano lessons after 3 years. And my older brother had gone through her class and she just loved him. Well, so I think, she's gonna love me too, right? Well, I'm in the class and I'm probably 16, I got an opinion. And she starts in, she was quite a Republican, and so she was going on one day from diverting from history to her political philosophy, and I just raised my hand and I said, well, there's another point of view, blah, 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 blah. And she turned around and she was at me, and she picked up that American history book, which was pretty big, and she threw it clear across the room at me. And everybody, including me, sat there in shock. I mean, it was like, it wasn't okay to express another opinion, obviously, or not mine anyway. But I thought about that. Now, every time I've gone back for class reunions for 20 years or 50 years or whatever it was, people always remember, do you remember the day that Mr. Crockett threw the book at you? And of course, I did, and they did too, so it's kind of the class joke. But in thinking about that and how I would hope to handle that differently today. That how can I go into that situation and take my love and cross the bridge, and how can I maybe have a judgment, maybe have an opinion, but do it differently. And so then digging a little deeper was the business about judgment. And we're told not to judge, but we do, because that's the underlying piece under an opinion. And so if I go down there into that judgment, I have to go look and go, what's the first thing I judge? Myself. If I can stop judging myself, then I can stop judging everything else. And that's the dig that I found that stopped me, that said, okay, that's where I'm going to start when I've got a bridge to cross. That, you know, just why am I holding this judgment? Why am I holding this opinion? Why? And see if I can understand out of my story where it came from, and then come back and go, okay, what is the truth here? And can I love in spite of someone else having a different opinion? And can I be silent? And then he said, so if you want to be a cheerleader, if you really want to be a cheerleader, you know, playing a basketball game and you're the cheerleader, you're watching it and your team is da-da-da, well, we don't jump up in the middle of the game and start screaming at the other team. I mean, most of us have better behavior than that. So he said, if you must be a cheerleader, then please don't criticize the other side. Zip it. Stop it. Because the energy says that you're putting out, that all of us are putting out in this chaos and whatever, back off, because you're just adding to the problem. So it's been a long dig for me this time to go, okay, well, I'm going to practice doing something different and seeing if I get a different result, because when I let my energy get all pulled out and get into myself with my niggers in a knot, I don't feel good afterwards. My body energy knows now that drained me, and it's just not worth it. So I wanted to ask myself, what do I really desire? And I just desire to love and be loved, really, the bottom line. And so underneath of my judgments is the old, you know, the negative emotions, the fear of all that stuff. Oh, what if? And the yabbits, you know, the yabbits where you say, somebody says something and you have to say yabbit, da-da-da-da-da, you know. So if we let go of the what ifs and we let go of the yabbits and we just move into stand with our heart, and we can tell ourselves what we want and what we believe is the truth, but we really don't need to be the broadcaster. So I have done some angels up here today. February is my birthday month and a lot of other people's birthday months. And I always think it's the month of love because of all the Valentines and everything. But Linda Andrews called me and she said, did you see the date that you're going to speak on? I said, yeah, 2/20/2022. And I'd already been looking at the numbers and I'd already added them up. That's 10. And then she said, well, but Tuesday is 2/22/2022. And I said, yep, I know, and we won't have this many twos in our date for 200 years. So what's this about? Is this got some significance? And I was reminded of, in 1999, just before we rolled into 2000, that when we were still over at the church on University Avenue, and this man named Prince Harinder Singh came to speak to us. Now, he's a big, tall, handsome man from India with brown chocolate eyes that when he looked at you, you could see right to your toenails, and I knew that. And so I was curious what he would say and kind of in that stage of my seeking. And so I think Linda Lightfoot was the one who actually brought him to Missoula. And he was talking about going from 1999 into 2000, and here we are with the beliefs again. And he said, you know, we had a whole bunch of beliefs floating around at that time. And he said, well, according to their teachings and their belief, number one is the masculine energy of God, the mind, Father God, Father consciousness. And number two, and he put that finger over the top of the other one like this, and he said the two is the feminine, it's the heart, it's the feelings, it's the mother God consciousness. And so when you put them together, they make a cross. And he said the cross is not about crucifixion of Christ. It's not about the crucifixion that we do to ourselves and each other. It is about the bringing together the harmony of the divine masculine and the divine feminine within each of us, no matter what our embodiment looks like. We all have that. Well, that was profound for me, because I was pretty much one of those divine feminine feeling kind of people, and sometimes it was difficult for me to be feeling something and not have anybody else understand me. So I took that into the 2022, and angels have been always kind of in my background, and some people don't believe in angels. I happen to, because I saw too many coincidences, but if you don't believe in angels, that's okay. I'll believe in them for you, but anyway, Michael the Archangel, during those years when I left the divorce and left the marriage and left the church and left a lot of things behind, I was kind of in a no man's land, and I had a person who said to me, boy, those are big angels around you. And I go, what? She said, yeah, they're really tall. She said, it must be Michael and somebody else. So I spent time trying to figure out who the big angels were. But I know that Michael looked out for me, and he's looked out for me lots of times when I just did some really stupid things. So anyway, I brought some of my angels today, and the number 2 is powerful, and on the 22nd will be Tuesday, if you have time to sit with angels and just bring them into places for peace, that will be wonderful. And the other good news from the ascended host that I've been spending time with is on February 8th, goddess Himalaya, who was Eve originally, is now the goddess in the Himalayan mountains and has been there for eons of time. And she said that on February 8th, all of the retreats that are in all the mountains around the world, that some had been hermetically sealed for up to 3 million years. One in France was 1,700 years that was sealed, that nobody was there. And the one that impressed me was the one in Romania that's been sealed for 3 million years is now open. And if you don't know your geography, Romania sits right next to the Ukraine. And I found that comforting, because as I look around the world and feel not strong when I'm trying to deal with what's going on in the world, there's a comfort that I get in knowing that there's some of the ascended hosts that are closer to us now, are available for us to call on. And I watch all the strange stuff that is going on around the Ukraine, and I go, well, maybe the prayers are helping. Not just mine or my belief system, but those of many people in the world who want to take love across that bridge and peace instead of more war. We're just so past that, so many people. So I'm grateful for all that information, and maybe you believe some of this and maybe you don't, but the question still remains, how do I be strong and take that love across that bridge to whatever's going on? And will we still have a human moment? Yes, probably. And so we just get one more tool to say, how do I deal with my upset? How do I deal with my judgment? How do I deal with my opinion? And look at it from a more Mother, Father, God consciousness, Christ consciousness place. Because Jesus Christ said, if you engage in those things, you're stopping your progress towards your own Christ consciousness. And I don't want to do stuff that stops my progress anymore. And I don't want to sit on the porch and bark. So, for our meditation today, I have chosen a prayer call that went up to Archangel Michael. So if everybody wants to just kind of get comfortable and take a deep breath and look at the angels if you want, or make up your own, or if you know who your loving sponsor is best that you want to be speaking to, that's fine too. So as we take in a deep breath, first of all, closing our eyes, I just always want to say thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for the amazing bodies we have. Thank you for the beauty of taking that breath in. So many people have lost their breath, and every day I get to breathe. And so I'm so grateful for that. And I know that there's a greater source that's helping me keep breathing. So beloved, my beloved, I am God presence within me and above me. I call forth to Archangel Michael and his legions of angels of the cosmic blue flames of immortal love and immortal power and cosmic light substance. I welcome the descent of Archangel Michael and his angels of the cosmic blue flames, descending into our midst. I call upon precious Michael and his angels to create a wall of cosmic blue flames around us and all our loved ones, and cut everyone free of any discordant lines of force that may be coming in or seeking to come in. I ask that Michael protect me and my loved ones and all upon the spiritual path in a wall of cosmic blue flames that cuts us free from any discordant energy. I ask Archangel Michael and his angels to build a permanent wall of cosmic light and cosmic blue flames around me and around us all that becomes a mighty pillar, rising up 12 feet high, permanently sustained, that we may be disconnected from the discordant energies of the world, and we are free to express the great God presence within and its great God dominion around human appearances of the outer world. I love and bless Archangel Michael and his legions of angels for his transcendent service. Archangel Michael, build your wall of cosmic blue flames and their cosmic light substance around me and all who are facing the light, and see that each one has their victory, that we may go forth the vanguard for all humanity and join the angelic host in protecting the earth and all cosmic light. We thank you. And so we'll take a bit of silence, taking in a deep breath and being with the silence. So with gratitude for the silence, let's take in another deep breath and send love and respect to all of the planet. Okay, so we're going to do the little prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. And the power of God protects us wherever we are